So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the NFL offseason is essentially over, right? Free agency is mostly complete. There are still a few people out there that may be signed before the NFL regular season, but for a large majority of teams, their free agency is done, the NFL draft is officially over, and although they could add some pieces, for many NFL teams and for many franchises, the offseason's over and they're focused on the 2022 season. However, with more than a month to go before the first preseason games officially get underway, there is some speculation about some players that may be moving around the NFL and some players that may be last-second trade candidates to really boost an NFL team going into the 2022 season. And today, we are going to talk about one of those players for the Detroit Lions. We're going to talk about a potential trading scenario for a former first-round pick and a player that could definitely boost the Lions' defensive front seven. So today, we are going to be talking about this potential trading scenario for the Lions. Well, all of that being said and all the intro stuff out of the way, let's get into taking a look at the Detroit Lions' potential trading target. Now, this trade was suggested by an NFL media person. He went through every single NFL team and said one trade that every team should be making before the start of the 2022 season. And with more than a month until training camp, I do believe that there is still time for a big trade for a number of teams to go through to help boost their roster going into the regular season. For the Lions, the trade proposal was this. The Lions were to trade away Michael Brockers, the 30-year-old defensive lineman, as well as a 2023 second-round pick to the Washington Commanders in return for interior defensive lineman Daron Payne. The Detroit Lions would be adding a very young, very talented defensive lineman to the interior of their front seven, and the Washington Commanders would be offloading an expiring contract for a player that is likely going to be fairly expensive for them to re-sign, with multiple other extensions looming, such as Chase Young in a year or two, as well as a few other key members of their team. So this trade from a base standpoint does seem to make sense for both teams, right? The Lions would be getting better, the Lions would be getting younger, they'd be getting more talented at the interior defensive line position, and the Washington Commanders would be getting rid of an expiring contract and instead of just letting that player walk away and maybe getting a late third-round compensatory pick for Daron Payne, they would be getting a guaranteed second-round pick as well as a pretty stout veteran in Michael Brockers. I would say if this trade were to go through, I think the Lions would win the trade just because I think they're getting a better player than what you're going to get out of Michael Brockers or that second round pick, but I think the trade does make sense from both sides. Now, if this trade were to go through, the Detroit Lions would face roughly $6 million in dead cap from Michael Brockers' current contract, but they would free up $3 million from said contract as well, but they would be taking on Daron Payne's $8.5 million contract, which is fully guaranteed by the Washington football team. It's a little bit of a steep increase in price from Brockers to Payne, but the production and the talent is also a pretty steep incline. Daron Payne is only 25 years old, but has played 4 years in the NFL. In those 4 years, Daron Payne has totaled over 227 tackles, 22 tackles for loss, 14.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, 35 quarterback hits, 9 passes defended, as well as an interception. He is an extremely disruptive force on the interior of the Washington defensive line and has been a staple piece of their defense since he's been drafted from the University of Alabama as a former mid-first round pick. He is somebody that I would say is maybe not a top 10 interior defensive lineman in the NFL, but is certainly top 15. And like I said, he may not be putting up Aaron Donald type numbers numbers of, 18 to 20 sacks a season. He is somebody that is going to give you 5 to 8 sacks. He is somebody that is going to give you, 6 to 10 tackles for loss a season. It's going to give you a few passes defended and a few bats at the line of scrimmage. He is somebody that is going to make the rest of the Lions defensive line much stronger with his addition, but he may not be the guy to actually soak up all of the statistics naturally at his position. Now, I think Daron Payne certainly fits the Detroit Lions bill. They're trying to get younger. They're trying to get more talented. They're trying to get meaner, more aggressive. They're trying to outmuscle people to the football, and that has been seen very clearly throughout the first 2 off seasons under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, right? Their first pick ever as a GM head coaching duo was a nasty offensive lineman in Penei Sewell. Their second pick was Levi Onwuzurike. Their third pick was Aleem McNeil. They added and they signed Romeo Okwara to a huge deal. This offseason, right, they added Josh Pascal in the second round. They added Aiden Hutchinson as the second overall pick. They have addressed defensive line over and over and over again over the past 2 off seasons because they want to win the line of scrimmage. They want to win that battle in the trenches, and Daron Payne is the definition of a trench winner. He is somebody that just is so disruptive on the defensive line, and pairing him with the defensive line talent that the Lions already have on the roster, it seems like it would be quite a formidable front seven in Detroit, right? You would think that going across the defensive line, you would start Aiden Hutchinson, Daron Payne, Aleem McNeil, as well as Romeo Okwara as your front 4 pass rushers or front 4 defensive linemen. But in the rotation, you have Charles Harris, who had 7.5 sacks a season ago. You have Julian Okwara, who had 5 sacks a season ago. You have Levi Onwuzurike, who you can rotate in quite a bit on pass rushing downs or just to keep players fresh. You could rotate in, obviously, second round pick Josh Pascal as well. And right there, that is 8 defensive linemen that are younger than 28, that are all in their physical primes, all under contract for at least 2 more seasons, and that is a really young and extremely talented defensive line. That is a defensive line, that is a front 7 that will bully you, that is a front 7 that won't give you an inch, and that is a front 7 that simply will cause havoc around the NFL for at least the next 2 seasons until players start to get older and players start to need new contracts. But that defensive line would be incredibly productive. I believe if the Lions were to add Daron Payne to the roster, their defensive line would essentially be complete. You'd be 4 deep at a really good rotation for your interior defensive line. Your pass rushers, right, your edge rushers, you're 4 to 5 deep if you want to include Austin Bryant or the player that they picked up off of waiver wire about a month ago from the Atlanta Falcons. And just overall, I think that this move could complete the Detroit Lions front 7, or at least would complete the Detroit Lions front 4 as a defensive line. Their linebackers would still need a little bit of work, and some players would still need to step up in the linebacking core, but as far as a front 4, I don't know if you're going to find a deeper front 4 in the NFL than those 8 players. And while Michael Brockers is not a bad player by any means, it would make sense for the Lions to want to get rid of one of their larger contracts and one of their older and more aging veterans. Michael Brockers, of course, is the oldest player on the Lions roster, being the only player over 30 years old, and being actually the only player even really relatively close to 30 plus years old. Every single other player on the Lions is younger than 28, I believe, with Taylor Decker, I think, being the oldest player on the roster behind Michael Brockers. They are a young team. They are a team that is built through the draft. They are a team that is built off of young, hardworking talents, and they are a team that I think Daron Payne would fit very well. The Lions would have the opportunity to upgrade at the interior defensive line position. They have 2 first-round picks in next year's class, so if they were to get rid of one of those first-round picks, they could always trade back for another second, or if they were to make a trade like last year, right, they're going to trade away a couple big picks at the top, but still walk away with a decent second-round pick. They have enough ammunition where if they were to lose that second round pick, it wouldn't be the biggest loss in the world because they have a first round pick that is going to easily make up for the talent that they were going to get with said second round pick. So with that being said, and all of that being said and out there, I do think this is a good trade for the Detroit Lions. Do I think it's a trade that will happen? Probably not. Do we think that Brad Holmes is at the point where he is ready to be aggressive, ready to trade for a star player, ready to trade and start winning now? I don't know if that is necessarily the case, right? Yes, they were aggressive with the Jameson Williams trade up, but Jameson Williams is a player that is going to be here for at least 4 seasons. Daron Payne is somebody that will be under contract for 1 year and then will need a brand new contract. So I think there's a little bit of hesitation there from Brad Holmes, and I don't think that the Lions are in a bad enough spot right now where they need somebody like Daron Payne. I think even with the defensive line that they have now, they should be a really good, very talented unit, and if Aleem McNeil, Levi Onwuzurike both progress like they're expected to in this season, if Aiden Hutchinson is the game record that we drafted him to be, this defensive line will be fine going into 2022. But adding a former first-round pick and adding somebody that is as disruptive and just somebody that is as talented as Daron Payne from the Washington Commanders would only help the Detroit Lions get better in 2022. So with all of that being said, that is it for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about the trade scenario. Let me know what you would do or how you would feel if this trade were to officially go through. I'd be very curious what you guys think, but with all of that being said, that is it for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions.